Well, hello everyone, it's Pete here. In this video I'm going to show you a little mod for this, which is an alternative to the classic 5th shock mod. And the good thing about the alternative mod is it's almost free. First of all, what's the 5th shock mod, I hear you all ask? Right, so this one's got the 5th shock mod, let's have a look. Okay, so you can see I've got oil shocks on this one. I've also got, if you can see in the middle there, another oil shock here, and that attaches to the front of the gearbox here. So what that shock does is to allow this to pivot like this, and also you've got your free range of movement of the gearbox like that. Now with the standard kit you get these little springs that go inside these channels. They do work pretty well for a little while, but they tend to break far too easily. So the 5th shock mod's a more robust method of dampening that motion. Now there are other alternatives to this. On this one, I don't know if you can see in there, but there's a solid rod instead of a shock. Now that does allow still the rotation of the wheels like that. It doesn't actually allow the front of the gearbox to come up. You can get a little aftermarket gearbox brace that goes in here. It does a similar thing to this where you've got a rigid pivot. But I've got a theory that it's better to have a bit of movement in this joint rather than it just being a pivot. So my theory about this is when these accelerate, they tip the gearbox back like that and the spring absorbs some of that movement. But if that's a solid pivot, it just has the effect of pulling down on these shocks here as you're accelerating, and so these shocks aren't doing their job. I know in practice this does work really well, so putting oil shocks and the 5th shock mod on this is the best solution. At the end of the day, it is a lunchbox, it's still going to be a bouncy truck, but this does improve the handling of this. I did do a video when I built this one and I go into more detail about how to do the 5th shock mod. The alternative method I've used on this is to have a cable tie across here between the gearbox and the chassis, and that works really well. So let's go back in time to when I was building this and I'll show you what you need to do. Now you can do this after the event, but I'm going to do this while I'm building it. So what you need to do is get the halves of the gearbox together and measure halfway along. Now I measure that as 81, 82, so at about 40 we need to make a little mark on here. So we need to make a hole through that, and bear in mind that it needs to be this side of this bar. You don't want to hit the bar. This cable tie I'm going to use is 5mm wide, so I'm going to use a 5mm drill for this. And to get that in there so it misses the bar, needs to be about there. So I'll just mark that up. Right, so that's the hole drilled. You can see that the hole only goes into this compartment here. It doesn't affect the compartment the gears sit in, so you're not going to get dust into that bit, only this bit, which doesn't actually matter. Yep, so that works alright. So this is one of the D7 pieces with the channel that the gearbox front goes up and down in. With the standard build you get this spring here, and that does quite a good job actually of stopping the gearbox from slapping up and down. But the problem with this is it breaks far too easily. So when you get to step 14 you're preparing the battery holder here. It's part D11. So we want to make a little hole just at the front here, a 5mm hole like before. So it's going to mark that. It is easier to drill it from this side because you've got this rib here and that'd make it difficult to drill from that side. Anyway, that'll do. So you can see the problem if the little kit springs are broken, that just sort of bangs about like that when you accelerate and decelerate. It's no good, is it? So for this method we're going to put the cable tie through. It's really better the block part isn't on this side because it was going to catch on the dirt and everything. So I'm going to put that through there. So sort of do this up as tight as you can. Okay, so let's test this. So you do get a bit of a springy effect with this, which is quite good. It's not like a solid hinge. And you've got the full rotation there. So yeah, that looks good. I'll just trim off the excess. So yeah, that's working pretty well. Right, so that's that. That's all ready to go. I've already done this method on one of my other lunchboxes quite a long time ago and it hasn't broken yet, so it's a nice robust fix. It's worth pointing out there is actually a big cable tie in the kit, which is to go around the motor to hold the wires back. But if you're using a brushless motor like I am here where the wires come out sideways, then you don't actually need this cable tie, so it genuinely is a free fix if you've already got that there. So that's it for this one. Like I was saying, there are other videos to show all the other mods I've done to this platform in the past. But for now, thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.